Hello, my name is Teacher Tim. Welcome to the Adventures Abroad English Program Lesson 86. Let's get started. How often do I work on Sundays? You rarely work on Sundays. How often does she run on Thursdays? She usually runs on Thursdays. How often do they swim on Saturdays? They usually swim on Saturdays. How often does he eat lunch at noon? He often eats lunch at noon. How often do they eat dinner at 5:15 p.m.? They often eat dinner at 5:15 p.m. How often does she sleep at 11 o'clock p.m.? She often sleeps at 11 o'clock p.m. How often does he eat lunch at 12:30 p.m.? He sometimes eats lunch at 12:30 p.m. How often do they eat dinner at 5:45 p.m.? They sometimes eat dinner at 5:45 p.m. How often does she sleep at midnight? She sometimes sleeps at midnight. Nice job! How often do I teach English? You often teach English 5 days a week, but you sometimes teach English 6 days a week. How often does he ride his bike? He often rides his bike 3 days a week, but he sometimes rides his bike 4 days a week. How often do they go to church? They often go to church 1 day a week, but they sometimes go to church 2 days a week. Do I ever teach English 5 days a week? Yes, you do. Do I always teach English 5 days a week? No, you don't. How often do I teach English 5 days a week? You often teach English 5 days a week. How often do I teach English 6 days a week? You sometimes teach English 6 days a week. Does he ever ride his bike 3 days a week? Yes, he does. Does he always ride his bike 3 days a week? No, he doesn't. How often does he ride his bike 3 days a week? He often rides his bike 3 days a week. How often does he ride his bike 4 days a week? He sometimes rides his bike 4 days a week. Good job. You ask me. Do they ever go to church 1 day a week? Yes, they do. Do they always go to church 1 day a week? No, they don't. How often do they go to church 1 day a week? They often go to church 1 day a week. How often do they go to church 2 days a week? They sometimes go to church 2 days a week. How often do you drink with your mouth? I always drink with my mouth. How often do you smell with your nose? I always smell with my nose. How often do you touch with your fingers? I always touch with my fingers. How often do you drink tea in the morning? I drink tea in the morning. How often do you eat rice for breakfast? I eat rice for breakfast. How often do you eat vegetables for lunch? I Eat vegetables for lunch. How often do you sleep in the afternoon? I sleep in the afternoon. How often do you take a bath in the evening? I take a bath in the evening. How often do you read at night? I read at night. Well done. Do you ever drink with your mouth? Yes, I do. Do you ever drink with your nose? No, I don't. How often do you drink with your mouth? I always drink with my mouth. How often do you drink with your nose? I never drink with my nose. Do you ever eat rice for breakfast? Do you ever eat rice for dinner? How often do you eat rice for breakfast? I eat rice for breakfast. How often do you eat rice for dinner? I eat rice for dinner. Do you ever read at night? Do you ever read in the afternoon? How often do you read at night? How often do you read in the afternoon? Great job! You ask me. Do you ever eat vegetables for lunch? Yes, I do. Do you ever eat vegetables for dinner? Yes, I do. How often do you eat vegetables for lunch? I sometimes eat vegetables for lunch. How often do you eat vegetables for dinner? I usually eat vegetables for dinner. You ask me. Do you ever cook dinner in the afternoon? Yes, I do. Do you ever cook dinner in the evening? Yes, I do. How often do you cook dinner in the afternoon? I sometimes cook dinner in the afternoon. How often do you cook dinner in the evening? I usually cook dinner in the evening. Well done! Congratulations! You have finished lesson 86. Great job!